Well, two top attractions at one of the world's largest aquariums have recently died, and their deaths are rekindling a debate about the dangers of keeping animals in captivity. Are zoos and aquariums dangerous to the animals they hold, or are they a valuable tool to educate people? I'm joined now in the studio by Randy Malamud. He's a professor at Georgia State University. He is also the author of the book, Reading Zoos, Representations of Animals and Captivities. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Malamud. So you believe that zoos and aquariums are harmful to both people and animals?
I do.
What's wrong with them?
Well, from the animals' point of view, I think that it's fairly self-evident that they're not happy there. They can't be happy there. They're not where they belong. They don't have the things that they need, the habitat, the environment, the experiences to live a normal life. From people's point of view, I think that they give us a very dangerous perspective on animals. They teach us the wrong things about our relations to animals. The animals are in the tanks, are in the cages, and we're looking at them from a position of superiority, from a position of power. I think what we're really looking at when we look at these animals is not the animals themselves, but we're looking at what we can do to them. We're looking at where we're celebrating somehow our ability to take them from where they belong and put them where they don't belong, but in a place that's convenient for us to look at them.
Let me ask you about, you know that there are a lot of people who disagree with you.
I do indeed.
And I wanted to ask you for your reaction on the statement we have here from a conservationist who wrote the following. We're going to put that up on the screen so that we could discuss that opinion from John Fraser with the Wildlife Conservation Society. He says that an encounter with a living being, on the other hand, is a catalyst for action. This is the place where the love starts. So basically what he's saying is that this is a way to create this bond between animal and human and make people understand and care more about animals. What's wrong with that?
I think it's strange that we feel as if we should have this entitlement to see every creature close up and immediately. These creatures don't belong in Atlanta or London or New York.
But how do you create this bond in children unless they really see this animal? It really, I've watched children at zoos. I've watched myself at zoos. There is nothing like really seeing that creature. It really is awe-inspiring.
I think that one of the fundamental facts about the life of a whale shark or a polar bear is that they're just not meant to be seen by us. And so merely by seeing them, by putting them in this institution that's set up for our voyeurism, for our spectatorship, we're fundamentally abrogating, we're taking away the natural existence of the animal. And so I would argue that what these children are looking at is not really the animal itself. It's a pale imitation. It's something that looks a little bit like the animal, doesn't really act the way the animal acts in nature. There are copious examples of stereotypic behavior of animals in zoos and aquaria, which means that they're behaving neurotically. They're not happy to be there.
Let me ask you about another extreme in opinions, and I'm curious to know if you would agree with this. I'm sure you've heard about a star polar bear baby called Nut in the Berlin Zoo. A very, very cute little creature that has doubled the amount of people visiting the zoos. It's just a wonderful little cute human. A cute polar bear there. Polar bears are threatened, and this polar bear was rejected by its mother and saved. And some animal rights activists have gone as far as to say the following. Here we are quoting Frank Albrecht, quoted as saying the following: "If the polar bear mother rejected the baby, then I believe that the zoo must follow the instincts of nature. In the wild, it would have been left to die. The zoo must kill the bear." Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that. And yet, I was very interested by that perspective, and I think that that thoughts like that deserve to be part of the conversation of what we should do with the animals. I don't think we should kill the animal, nor do I think the animal should be in a zoo. Sometimes there's not a right answer. I don't know what the answer is in that particular case.
Well, what about people saying sometimes these animals are saved? For example, this little baby, it can't survive in the wild. Its mother rejected him. He was born in captivity. So why not have him there so that he could be saved, he could be taken care of? What's wrong with that?
He doesn't belong there. It's unnatural.
But he doesn't belong in the environment because of the way he was born in captivity.
I think that that when we think about where animals belong, you know, it would be ideal for animals to be able to prosper in their habitats, and zoos often often say, well, we're taking care of animals who can't survive on their own in the wild for whatever reasons, because the habitats are being destroyed. And I think what that calls to mind the larger question about what people are doing to destroy these habitats, to create the situation where these animals can't survive anywhere but in the zoo. Zoos and aquaria often invoke the story of Noah's Ark. The idea that we are building a kind of, a protective place for animals and taking them on 2 by 2. But in the biblical story of Noah's Ark, when the dangers were over, the animals went back into the wild. And that's virtually impossible for us to do today because the wilds are being destroyed. And so I think that to the extent that zoos say they want to develop a kind of ecological awareness in people, and I certainly support that, I don't think you can have that when the animal is ripped out of its context. I think that the lesson that we really need to be teaching people is that we need to be much more considerate of how we behave, how we consume, and so that we don't destroy their habitats.
You were telling me that you have 2 children.
I do.
And when in school they're taken to the zoo or
I don't send them. We keep them home.
How do you educate them?
We look at animals who live around us. We go outside. We look at birds. We look at worms. We listen for animals. We watch animals. We make lists. And there are many animals who are in immediate contact with us. And I think that it certainly is a wonderful thing to look at them, to think about them, to think about how they coexist with us. There are other animals like zebras and giraffes and polar bears and whale sharks that are just not meant to be in proximity with us. And I think any time these animals come into contact with us, they suffer for it. So if we're really concerned about getting to know these animals and getting to make a connection with them, I think we need to respect their integrity and respect their own right to some happiness and to some natural existence.
All right. I'm sure that there are a lot of parents out there who disagree with you.
Quite possibly.
But we very much appreciate you coming here to share your point of view with us. Professor Randy Malamud, professor at Georgia State University, also written the following book, Reading Zoos, Representations of Animals and Captivity. A very interesting perspective. Thank you.